and welcome to another live broadcast of our market overview with me, PumpeyeTheTraderMan, and Bilo, the former bear from Crypto Society. How are you doing, Bilo?
Pumpeye, you're cutting out.
How are you doing, Bilo?
I'm good. Just to let you know, you were cutting out a little bit there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. So we're just going to dive right in and look at Bitcoin. We always start with the macro view of Bitcoin from the beginning to where we are today. So going back to the levels where Bitcoin was starting, consider wave one in Elliott wave theory. We have 5 waves up and then a correction. So the largest cycle of Bitcoin is what we're looking at right now. I'll expand it a little bit so you guys can see it. And we consider that wave one happened in the all-time high of 2017. Wave three happened last April, and then we had a major correction down to wave 4 in July. And honestly, wave 5 is debatable. There were reasons for me to think that wave 5 would have been higher, but with what happened this week, I'm reconsidering this, and I'll explain why. So these are this is the macro overview. For those that don't know, guys, this is what an Elliott wave looks like. It's a structure that looks like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's followed by a correction, which in its simplest form is an ABC. And that's what a typical cycle looks like. Now, what's interesting and what's important to know is that the 3 primary waves, which are waves 1, 3, and 5, have 5 waves inside of them. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the correcting waves, which are 2 and 4, have ABCs inside of them. So A, B, C. And this goes on infinitely inside of each cycle. So this being the largest cycle, and then inside of wave 1 there's 5, and inside of wave 1 of 1 there's 5, and so on. So that's just generally Elliott wave theory. Without getting into too many specifics, there's a lot of rules and guidances that are set to allow us to predict where things are going and how far they can go. There's modeling for Elliott wave that allows you to anticipate price action, movement, and we're not going to get into all this for now. I just wanted to give a very brief overview of the basics of Elliott wave theory. So what's important for now is to just take a look at where we are in the market. So we made this up to wave 3. We had this huge correction in the summer down to wave 4. We here in Crypto Society followed this very, very closely. I'll zoom into the daily, and we weren't the only ones, but we saw this as the Wyckoff accumulation. And the Wyckoff accumulation, just so you guys can see it, for those that haven't joined us before, you just have to Google Wyckoff accumulation. And guys, we encourage you always to think about what we say and kind of go out and do a little bit of research, and maybe sometimes challenge us and come back and say, you guys said this last week, but I researched, and we're open to discussion. And our aim is education. We're educating our audience, but we also learn as we go, and we evolve as well. So feel free to always check and do your own research and come back and tell us what you think. So I'm just looking for the nicest chart that explains what I want to show you. And so let's call it this one here. So this here is where we would have been at the all-time high from April. Then we made it down, and we stayed inside of this channel. This is the accumulation channel, and you have all these points. But the most important thing to kind of take away from this is this here, what's called the spring. And then there's a test, and then we go all the way back up. So if we go, other charts call it different things. Sometimes it's called the low volume sell-off. It doesn't really matter. It's just the accumulation pattern that we see here, where you have Bitcoin being accumulated. and then it tests a certain level, which anytime you see on a major time scale, because if you start looking at a minute, 5 minute, 10-minute time scales, you go crazy. But if you start looking at a major time scale and you see a dip that goes below the last low, and that dip, even though the price gets lower, you see that the dip has not a lot of volume. That's usually bullish. And that leads into what we call a bullish divergence, which we'll see on RSI or MACD or any other oscillator. And we'll get into this. For those that don't know, please feel free to ask and we'll be happy to explain. So just remember this chart, and we'll go back and compare it to what we saw in last summer. And I will just double click here so we can see just that. Go back to the daily. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Here we go. That's why. And this is it. Okay, so this is where we went down, and this is the accumulation channel, and this here would be the spring. And then in Elliott wave terms, this would be wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There were reasons why we thought that this wave 5 would end a lot higher. And I suppose it's still possible, but there's less reason to believe right now that the height that we had estimated, which was over 100K, would reach, just because of the magnitude of this correction, okay? Forget about these squiggly lines. We'll explain them to you later and what they mean, and take them with a grain of salt. But for now, this is the newest all-time high, which happened on or about November the 10th. And we've seen a massive, relatively speaking, massive decline in price, where we had this wick, and this wick really screwed things up a lot in the market in terms of TA and analysis, because this wick that we see here, which, we have a big candle on the daily, but if you go in, I don't want to go into a 5-minute chart because then I'll lose it. I'll have to scroll a lot. But if we go into even a 30-minute chart, auto, I just have to go back to the time that this happened here. This wick, guys, actually, I analyzed it down to 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute wick. So if you went on the minute chart, you would actually see 2 wicks here. And I mean, this is like almost a $10,000 very quick descent. And this area here, the 48K area, is where we had previously said was a very important support. We're not going to go back in time and explain why, but it was a very important support. And this wick here is a result of many people seeing the 48K area as an important support, and hence placing their stop losses below, or maybe not even having stop losses. And what this led to was massive stop losses and liquidations. And what happens is when something is over leveraged, like Bitcoin, a lot of people over leverage Bitcoin, and they have their stop losses below. A stop loss is essentially a forced sale of what it is you're trading. And liquidation is even worse. It's when you don't have a stop loss, but your position is such that if it goes any lower, if you're in a long position, you're basically run out of money to support your risk. So the exchange sells the, in this case, Bitcoin for you. You have no choice. So these cascades of dropping in price, because now there's liquidity. When there's a stop loss, there's an availability. You were forced to sell Bitcoin. So now there's this supply of Bitcoin that's available. And as the price goes down, because more people are getting caught by the wick, there's more supply, and it just keeps on dumping until people that were safe in their stop losses, even below, get triggered, and then more liquidations happen. So this is what's called a flash crash. And that's exactly how it happens. So we flash crashed down to, like 41.6, and then went up very, very quickly. So this honestly was a little bit, it was problematic for me, at least, in trying to analyze what's going on moving forward, because I'll just go back to the daily. Because, going back to the principles of Elliott wave, and Elliott wave is not the only means to analyze charts, guys. I'm talking about Elliott waves because when things fit right, they're very powerful in predicting what comes next. But the problem with this wick is it went down so far because of the flash crash and the liquidations that it made both the bearish and the bullish scenario very uncertain. It didn't make it clear for a bullish scenario, and it didn't make it clear for a bearish one. And the reason is that, as I mentioned earlier, this here would have been wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so if we look at, if this was wave 5, and we're seeing a correction all the way down here, well, if this is in the end of wave 5, what happens after wave 5 is an ABC. So let's call this the A, and let's call somewhere here the B, then the C would still be down there. And I've mentioned this on several other market overviews as a possibility that we cannot ignore, because it went down a lot more than expected. And initially, this would have been wave 1 of wave 5. So remember earlier I told you that each primary wave has 5 waves inside of it. Right now, with this being where it is, we can say, okay, well, you know what? This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. But what if I told you that before this flash crash happened, the most viable count was this. This is 1, this is 2, and this would have been 3 somewhere here, and 4 and 5 would have been much higher. So because of this, you could see that Bitcoin was looking to reach somewhere about 100 and something K quite easily if this hadn't dropped below this level. We couldn't have dropped below this level because waves preceding wave 1 shouldn't drop below wave 1 unless it's for a very short period of time, like within 1 or 2 days, and only in very highly leveraged markets. So it fits for Bitcoin. But look, we stayed under here for quite some time. So it removes a lot of the argument that all of this would have been wave 1. And if this is not wave 1, then, if this was wave 3 or part of wave 3, it wouldn't have dropped this much. So it lends a lot of strength to the argument that this here really could be the top, and we're in a correction. And once the correction is over, we'll continue up. There's no doubt that we're going to continue up. I have zero doubt that we'll continue up. But the trick is to see what's happening right now. What are we doing right now? So then we started analyzing and looking at this and saying, okay, well, what if this was the correction? What if this was an ABC here, and now we're doing a 1-2? Well, the problem with that was that the 2, which can never go below the start of wave 1, and I can show you if we zoom into the 1-minute chart, because it was such a quick descent. I did identify 2 waves in here, like I mentioned earlier. So this being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actually works. Sorry, up until here. This would have been wave 5 of wave 1 going up. And the correction, and I had it kind of almost nailed, was what's called a flat correction, and it's a complex correction, but should have ended somewhere here. But we could have gone all the way down to just above this point without losing the count. But the minute we went below it, it's really no longer viable as a 1-2. So it is something else. Okay, it's not a 1-2. Why is that important? Is because if this is not a 1-2, well, this lends more likelihood to the bearish scenario from an Elliott wave count perspective. Now, we're going to look at other things that give us a little bit more hope and show us that, maybe it's not too bad, and that it's not necessarily being looked at as an Elliott wave correction in the sense of being a 1-to-1. So maybe I got ahead of myself. An ABC correction, guys, an Elliott wave that I explained earlier, we look to target a 1-to-1 ratio. The thing is, and what throws me off here, is that if this was A, B should have been higher. Usually B will go up, at least to 61.8 retracement of A. So 61.8 would have been like somewhere here where I put the B, just force of habit. So we barely made it to 382 before heading back down. So when that happens, typically we see a lot of this movement here, this BART movement. This BART movement, or sideways channel movement, You know what? We could start looking at the previous Elliott wave not Elliott wave, sorry, Wyckoff accumulation that happened in the summer, and try to draw similarities and see, okay, where are we similar? So we looked at this, the team and I, and yeah, okay, we have a big drop. We have a big drop. We don't see these wicks so far. We see this high. There's the high. We drop down to here. Okay, we drop down to here. So it's kind of fun, and I'm going to emphasize fun. Don't we can't take this as the path, but it's kind of fun to overlay what happened here. And this is all this is, guys. It's just an overlay of what happened here, just to see if this kind of this fractal repeats itself. So if it does, we're supposed to see go back up a little bit, come back down. If we follow the fractal, we shouldn't drop below this point. I mean, this just needs a bit of adjustment. But like I wouldn't put a lot of emphasis on this, and I'll let Pumpeye go into it later because he's also looking at this, and I think he has an even better fractal than the one I'm showing. He's analyzed it further, but it's just a fractal, guys. So a fractal is something that happened in the past that kind of looks like something that's happening today, and you kind of follow it to see that if it hits a lot of the points, like if it actually goes up here, comes back down, goes up, well, you know what, it's got something to it, and it's something to follow, but always with caution, because you could follow a fractal, but then the indicators are telling you something completely different and you can get wrecked. So it's just another tool to help you decide along the way somehow what it is that you want to do. So
Bilo,
yeah.
Did you notice that we managed to stay above the weekly high low by literally $50 on the nose?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And this here, and this line is a very important. I had this green rectangle drawn a while ago, and it's not too complicated. And the thing is, with Bitcoin, guys, if you go on different exchanges, these lines, these wicks will be a little bit different. But this is an obvious concentration of interest. You have this going on here. You have a lot of resistance here. Try to get above it. We went back down. Same here. So this is an important, and you have a support here. You have a support here. So it's not hard to see that this is an important area of support. And if you're above it, and resistance if you're below it. But then, so what this tells us here, guys, these are volume bars that are, instead of time oriented, like the volume bars here have to do with the time of the candle. So this is the 4th of December, this is the 5th of December, and so on. We see how much trading volume we had on different days. But what these bars tell us here on the right is at these prices, how much interest was there, whether it's buying or selling. So when we see these peaks, if the way to understand these bars is if you're below them, it's a resistance when it's at a peak. And if you're above them, it's a support when it's at a peak. So right now we're below on this large time frame. We can zoom into the 4-hour, and this whole picture will change because it's called visible range. So even if I just move the chart, you'll see right away that it's going to change. Okay, so we have to take also this with I don't want to say a grain of salt, because it is important and it is something that we use regularly, but it's important to look at these bars at different time scales and at different screen frames, if you will, of your chart, because the long-term supports and resistances are important, but so are the short-term. So right now I'm looking at the long-term, and it tells me that I'm in a pocket where there's not much resistance for Bitcoin. It should be able to go up here. We bounced here. Hopefully, we won't retest it anytime soon. We'll just continue on up. Forget the fractal for a minute. Like I said, it's fun to watch. Don't bet everything on it. But if I zoom in and I go into the 4-hour time frame, just for fun, so you can see the difference, you'll see that this thing changed completely. I mean, where before I had this nice big gap above me, and I can, Bitcoin can go up very easily. Now, when we're looking at this view, we see that there's major resistance on top of us. So here there's a little pocket, but then the resistance starts at approximately 45K. So it's important in TA. You look at it from different points of view. You look at it from short time frames, long time frames. The more time frames that you look at that support a particular view, whether it's bullish or bearish, the more confluence you have and the more sure you are that if you're trading or if you're just in it for the long term, whatever the case may be, that you have more reason to think that what you're doing is right. So looking at different time frames is extremely important. So yeah, it's not a TA lesson, just kind of just giving you my thoughts. Now, so where are we and what are we doing? So one thing I've been really keeping a close eye on, and I like a lot, aside from Elliott waves, I like to trade divergences. So what are divergences? Divergences, in this case, we're looking at bullish divergences because we're at the lows. So divergences are when the price makes, let's say, a lower low, but the oscillators, we have several oscillators. We're looking at MFI, RSI. Everybody knows RSI, so let's just focus on RSI for now. Makes either, it doesn't go much lower than the previous low. When you compare this one here to this one here, you could see this price is lower than this price, but RSI is kind of flat. So you can consider this RSI support, and you can consider this a form of bullish divergence. But then if you look at MFI, which incorporates volume into the oscillator of RSI, you could see that we actually have clear bullish divergence because it didn't drop as much even though the price went lower. What this tells us is that this is a very bullish point and that this should be a decent price entry. And we also have, just for fun, Market Cipher, which we invested in, which gave us a green dot, which signifies basically it's a good place to buy, and or it looks like we're turning, we're changing direction. Okay, so far, looking at the charts, it looks kind of, it looks like it's going to go up. It is going up. I don't want to say this is bullish. I want to say that for now, it looks like it's going up, and it is. The other thing that is fun to look at and is very easy to analyze is the stochastic indicator. And you could see that just for fun, you go on your charts, guys. You all hopefully have TradingView. If you don't, it's free, unless you want to, get a little bit fancy. Go on TradingView, plot, put on your Bitcoin chart, put in the stochastic oscillator, and just for fun, go in and analyze what happens each time stochastic hits this low on the daily. And on higher time frames, it's a lot more significant. If I go on the weekly, you'll see right away what I'm referring to, and it's encouraging, really, to be honest. So if you look at the last time we went this low on the stochastic, it was right here in June, July, before we made another run up to the all-time high. Before that, I'm just going to try to zoom in here a little bit, and I'm going to look here. So before that was here. We don't see it as much because we're seeing these big numbers, but if we zoom in, we'll see that it was still a place where we went up. So here we had this big candle from 7,400 to 10,540, which it doesn't look big here because, guys, it's a percentage. So 10,000 on 7,000 is still very, very big. It's not a small number. Here again, okay, we dropped and we go from 6,300 all the way to 10,700. These are huge numbers. So just for fun, go in, analyze it. You'll see, and it's encouraging that every time on the weekly, Bitcoin made it down here on the stochastic, we had a major reaction. And the same goes obviously for the top, right? When we reach the top, you start to worry that we're going to go down. So a lot of times it doesn't have to go down like a major dump, and when it goes up, it doesn't have to go up like a crazy candle, because it can do kind of like something like this and then come back down. So it's just a good indicator that this is a good spot. It's good support. It's a good time to get in. Just looking at the stochastic, okay? So what we've covered so far in this is that there is a likelihood, a high likelihood, that this was indeed the end here of the largest grand cycle in crypto for Bitcoin. Grand cycle being waves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't mean that it's over, because every time there's a cycle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a correction of an ABC. This correction has, there's norms to a correction, and we like to see one-to-ones, but it doesn't happen in that way all the time. And the proof of it is right here. Okay, so we could consider this to be an ABC, or we could have said this is the A, this is the B, and the C could go down more, and it didn't, and we accumulated here. So market sentiment, of course, plays a big factor. And you know what? Elliott wave was done at a time where there wasn't the same possibilities to trade that we have today. I mean, think about it. Before this, nobody or most people didn't have access to 100x leverage. And these kind of leverages, they really mess with the counts. And the counts are not magic. It's market behavior and psychology. And that's how Elliott wave principle was created. So, and they say in there, in trading financial instruments that are highly leveraged, some things don't work. So if we want to look at Elliott waves, it's very important to keep that in mind. So if I want to see this as an A, and then this is this is the B, and then the C somewhere down here, I have, you know what, I have, to me, it looks like that, okay? But you can't ignore, by looking at this, that it could also look like this. And let me just draw it out for you so you can see it. So this for me is the bearish bullish scenario, okay? Oops. And why I say that is because, I mean, obviously we dropped, so it's bearish. The fact that we dropped is bearish. It's not fun. So if I do an A here and a B here and a C here, and I measure the extension just to see the ratio between A and C, which usually should be similar, we can see that, I mean, it's very close to a 1. It's very close to a perfect 1-to-1 extension. And knowing that we had liquidations, it's not hard to understand why there is a gap. But then it begs the question that if this was an ABC, after an ABC, what you normally see is you go up. So if this was an ABC on these 5 waves, well, you know what? Not true. You can go up or you can go down. You're starting a new cycle. But if we are looking to go up, then this would have been wave 1, and wave 2 would have been dropping down. But now that we drop below, this is where the thing gets a bit tricky. So this is why I'm saying that this ABC is not really finished. It can't be finished. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, corrections in Elliott wave theory are very complicated. You can have a very simple ABC correction, or you can have something called a flat, or you can have an expanded flat, or you can have a combination flat, and they can go on, I mean, for weeks and months, and sometimes even longer, and they get very complex. So, you know, without wanting to complicate things too much, I would just say it's time here to be very cautious. I honestly don't see a lot of reason, aside from the fundamentals, which I will get into after I finish, to be bullish. Chart-wise, okay, we have, you know, this green turnaround here, which tells us that we hit a bottom, good time to get in, market is turning, that's cool, it's nice. But I mean, we saw it here too, and the market went up a little bit and came back down. So what this is really telling us is it's not, okay, guys, all in, we're going to the moon. It's just telling us that based on the momentum, the price change, the RSI, the MFI, combining all these things together, there's good reason to think that we are about to change direction from down to up. It doesn't tell you for how long. It doesn't tell you we're going to continue going up. So yeah, I'm very cautious right now too, and I think everybody should be, and to see what happens. There's going to be certain points that are important to break. This level here is very important to break. It's about, let's call it from 45 all the way up to 50 will be an important level to break. There's a lot of resistance in that area, and you don't really need this to see it. You could see the wicks. I mean, there's a wick here, there's a wick here, here. So it's this zone that becomes very important. So just to draw a chart, you know, without even looking at the VPVR, we see that somebody's been playing with my colors. Hold on, I'll fix it.
That'll be
This
that
zone.
pesky Baldwin.
Yeah. This zone here, let me just change the color to what? What do you like? What colors do you like, guys? Yellow. Yeah. This zone here is a very important zone to break through. And of course, there's one lower than it. And so it is quite a bit of work to do before we make it back up to the previous all-time highs. Now, from another perspective, again, I'm not trying to be bearish, guys. I'm just trying to make you see things as realistically as possible. I'm not bearish for no reason. I just see what I see and I'm explaining it the best I can. So if we look at this as the grand cycle of Bitcoin, and we do a Fibonacci retracement from day 0 all the way up to wave 5, which is at 68. So we made it down to just below 38.2. You know what? Let me bring these in a little bit. So what does that mean? It's very simple. So Bitcoin went down 38.2% of the run up from 0 to 68,500. That's all it means. Okay, it's a retracement of 38.2%. It's obviously lower. It's between 38 and 2.5. But these are important numbers in Elliott wave, and not Elliott wave, in what do you call this guy, Fibonacci, because not because it's magic, but because many people rely on these numbers to trade. So anytime you have a bunch of people agreeing that because they were all taught that way or whatever the case may be, these are important numbers, it becomes somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So these are important numbers. The most important number is what's called the golden pocket. The golden pocket lives right here at 61.8. And it's, you know, we don't expect that, you know, if the price goes down, that it's going to hit here perfectly and go up. It's a zone, guys, because again, don't forget, Bitcoin right now, we're on Bitfinex. I can go on Kraken and it'll be a slightly different chart. I can go on Binance, it'll be a little different again. So it's zones that we want to bear in mind, we want to keep. The most bullish long-term scenario for Bitcoin, even though it's going to hurt, would be to actually test this level and then spring back up. From a TA perspective, that would be extremely bullish, but very, very painful. Now, it doesn't have to go all the way down. We're not saying it's going to go all the way down. We're just trying to say that maybe, given that the overall market structure went from 0 to close to 70K, and it just dropped 38%, even though 38% is a big number, we typically see at the end of a cycle this big, you know what, we typically see a higher correction. Again, not telling you it's going to happen, not telling you I feel this is what's going to happen. I'm just giving you guys the scenarios. Now, on the bright side, if we want to look at the bullish side, on the bullish side of things, we can, like I said, we could say that we did this ABC. It's done. It's done. We're in an accumulation right now, similar to this accumulation right here, and then we'll spring out of it, and that will be it. And we continue, and everybody's happy, everybody making money again, and it's possible. Now, what lends me to be really the most bullish I can be? It's not the chart. I think I made it clear. I don't like the chart. What makes me bullish is the fundamentals of adoption. Investments are still going up. Miners are not selling. We had an issue a few days ago. I mean, it made world news in Kazakhstan where the mining stopped and, you know, caused a little bit of some FUD because it's a significant amount of mining that's going on there. There's the Fed in the States. There's a lot of reasons for Bitcoin to go down. But for me, the most important thing is, what are people doing, and what are the whales and the people with the most Bitcoin doing? And this here is a chart on CryptoQuant. You guys can access the same chart. Just get an account, and you know you could look at it. it shows us the price of Bitcoin going, where it's going. And the blue line shows us how much Bitcoin exists on exchanges. Okay. So we've done this before. We've explained this before. There's several things you can do with Bitcoin if it's on an exchange. You could sell it, you could hold it, or you can use it to leverage trade. But there's only one thing you can do with Bitcoin if it's not an exchange, and that's hold it. You can't sell it. You need to have Bitcoin on an exchange in order to sell it. So when we see, we'll forget the past, we'll just analyze what we're seeing today. When we see Bitcoin drop from its all-time high in November to where we are today, and we see that the Bitcoin reserve, which is amount of Bitcoin on exchanges, continue to drop, that is as bullish as can get. It's very bullish, because this tells me that the people that make up this chart are not you and I. Okay, it's not you and me. It's we'll make the collective of the world will make a dent in it, but the real influencers of this curve here, this curvature of the line, are the whales, the institutional buyers, miners, whatever. So the fact that it continues to go down, meaning that there's less and less Bitcoin available on exchanges, just says that there's the sentiment in the market that, you know what, we're dropping, it's okay, we're not worried, we're going to go back up. This is the only thing that this chart tells us, is we're going back up. It doesn't say anything else. And honestly, this chart has guided us. We've been talking about it for a long time on our Crypto Society live streams, has guided us out of sticky situations like the one we're in right now, and so far hasn't disappointed. For sure, you can't look at this chart and say, okay, tomorrow Bitcoin is going up. But you can look at this chart and say, I don't have a lot of reason to be so concerned that it's going to hell, because if it was, we'd see this blue line spike, and we're not seeing it spike. And we've seen it spike before, and we're just not seeing it. It just continues to drop. And we saw yesterday or before yesterday, a few institutional buyers buying Bitcoin. I mean, they're not stupid. They're not buying Bitcoin if they believed it was going to go down a lot. It might still go down a little bit. There might be a spike. Don't forget, this Bitcoin is a finite commodity. There is not an infinite amount of Bitcoin. The race is on for owning as much Bitcoin as possible. And so think of it from the whale's perspective or an institutional buyer's perspective. They want to end up with as much Bitcoin as possible. So shakeouts happen, and this is a shakeout. Okay, think of it as a shakeout. This is the bullish scenario. It's increase fear, make people drop their positions and buy up the positions, and it's going to go up. I don't see any other reason for this Bitcoin reserve line to continue dropping other than this is a shakeout. It's painful because we see it's affecting our, every other coin we hold. The alts are affected significantly. We don't have really any clue when things are going to turn around. The TA is not great. It's not clear. There's a lot of information that contradicts itself. But this just tells us a whole other story. And this is the only reason right now, with what I mentioned earlier, the FA side, meaning that the institutional investment is still on, they're still buying. This is one of the biggest reasons I feel I'm not too concerned. And even if I see another wick down, you know what, it does not concern me too much because of this chart. Now, this chart can change, and I'll change my opinion then. But for now, I don't see it changing. And the market, I'm reading a lot, and it just seems to be that there's more gravitation, more money flowing into Bitcoin than out. So it's going to happen soon, in my opinion, just based on this, that things hopefully turn around for us. Anybody have any questions? Anything you'd like me to explain that wasn't clear? I'll be happy to do it.
Do you not think that the macro structure with the higher low, do you not think that matters particularly? I know you've been saying about us going lower before we can go up. you not feel that keeping that market structure intact and us
Sure.
not breaking that high low?
Of course, you're talking about these two, right?
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah.
If you look on the weekly, the higher low sits at 39,600. The previous weekly high low.
I'm on the weekly right now.
Okay, so it would be where it would be the red line along to the left, just before
This one here?
just before going up. Yeah, is that 39,600? I think that sits at.
So, like I said, if you look at a different exchange, you'll see a different thing. In this case, this here went lower than this.
Okay, so the recent low was 39,650, and the one before that was 39,600.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. If you look at a different exchange, you'll see something different. Like in this case,
of course,
if you look at the top of the screen, it's 39,678, and this one here is 39,672. So
it was.
It doesn't really. I don't find that it matters as much because I would consider this to be the swing low and not this. Okay. So we're still above it. And there's a fictitious line we can draw from here. And I was playing around just to see where we can hit these 3 points right now and we can go below it, and it means nothing. It's purely, just to try to find something to watch. But I don't know. I feel like from a TA perspective, it's not clear at all. And I've been saying it for a few weeks now. But the only thing that keeps me, feeling okay, like I said, is the amount of reserves, and that there's still further investment going on. And if you look at what's happening in the leveraged market, there's a lot of long positions right now. You know what? You could read this two ways. You could read it as great, we're going up, but you can also read it as an opportunity to liquidate more people. So yeah, I'm very cautious right now when it comes to leverage trading, and it's from a TA perspective, guys. I wish I had something clearer than this. I saw this earlier as the start of here. This would have been wave 1, wave 2. This is wave 1 of 3, and wave 5 was all the way up there, but not with this, not anymore. So
because
we're gonna have. I'm sorry?
Because of how low we've gone since the top of what you've got marked as wave 5.
That's right. We broke the structure and for way too long. You know what? If it was a couple of days, it would have been okay because of the leverage situation, but it's not a couple of days.
No, of course.
So, and we have significant resistance above us. So, you know what? An accumulation phase here makes a lot of sense, but unfortunately, there's also a lot of bearish scenarios that there's a head and shoulders. I mean, you can't not see the head and shoulders. But you don't want to see it.
Head and shoulders.
and I don't want to see it, but it's there. So
it's like the head and shoulders of Jack and the fucking beanstalk.
I don't think so. The head and shoulders, that was the problem. I mean, I've never seen it run out properly on a daily, especially on a BDC chart. Like even before this, we had a head and shoulder when we were at 29. And everyone is like, this head and shoulder is going to drop for sure, but it never happens. I mean, I feel like the head and shoulders does the opposite to these days.
So a head and shoulders, and it's interesting, right? Because the head and shoulders, really, it's an area of support, right? So technically, you bounce off of a head and shoulder. It's just that once you test something a little bit too many times, it weakens the support, and then you kind of make it through it. And the thing with head and shoulders is, if we all agree, guys, that Bitcoin is manipulated, and I think we'll all agree, then sometimes the structure is going to happen in such a way to make you think something is happening, and actually you'll see it happen right in front of your eyes, and then it'll turn around. So we could see something like this, for example. Let me make this thicker. So you could see something like this happen, come down. And then, oops, we broke below, and it's going to come back up, test it again, continue down, or it can do this and screw everybody in this position. And I've seen this happen many.
That is the one I'm betting on.
So that's the thing, is really, it's not from a TA perspective at all the time unless, you know what, you want to bet. It's like gambling at this stage to go high leverage, guys. It's always gambling to go high leverage because it takes 1 week to kick you out. But honestly, from a TA perspective, long term right now is not clear. And unless somebody has a different perspective, I'll be more than happy to see it. And I would love to see something that's more clear, but I don't see it. I just don't. You have all these guys on YouTube claiming this and that. Yeah, it's garbage in my opinion.
On other news, Powell has basically decided to raise interest, which means we're going to see a little more pain in stocks, most probably.
Yeah. How do you think so? So how do you think the Fed raising interests? I mean, it's going to strengthen the dollar. So technically, if we believe that a stronger dollar is not good or maybe not great for crypto, is that the way you're looking at it?
I mean, if we are looking in terms of the coupling with mainstream finance, I would say if a strengthening of dollar case comes, I mean, BTs will obviously reflect on that, and it would bounce because of that. But honestly, I am still looking at the inflation, and I don't think so. US has seen this level of inflation for like 30 years. Like the last inflation rating which we got is about 7 point something, and where the expected was supposed to be 4 point something.
Yeah.
So taking that into terms, I don't think so they would be able to raise interest good enough to curb the inflation. So the whole point of you raising interest is to curb inflation, and if that doesn't happen, that doesn't strengthen the dollar. So that again reflects on Bitcoin. So I don't think so. Bitcoin
in a
at
good
this
way.
point of time,
Are you saying it's in a bad way or in a good way?
At the current moment, I think it's going to be in a bad way because the market is too, let's say, linked to USD in a way, even though it's USDT, but it is technically USD. I mean, that's what people consider it to be. So when people see weakness in USD, they automatically assume USDT to be also weak. You know, it's a psychology game again. So in that way, I think we could see a bad movement on BTC. But if in case after that movement, I think the crypto market as a whole could lose, like, let's say, trust in the dollar. And if a situation like that comes, maybe there is a chance that, you know, the whole of crypto could try shifting into other types of currencies, like maybe PAX or DAI or something like that, like something which is not related to mainstream finance at least directly. Like USD is directly linked to mainstream finance, and that's the reason we see the correlation between all the S&P 500 and all that. You know, we see the direct correlation because of that reason. It's mainly because we are all linked to dollar. Even despite crypto saying for the longest period of time that we are going to be a hedge against inflation, I don't think so at this point of time we really are. But maybe inflation is what exactly we need to decouple to decouple crypto from dollar. That's my reading on this.
I've actually also wondered about that, how we can possibly get away from the dollar, because you've got to have something. You've got to have something.
Yeah, so I think the catalyst would be the loss in trust with the dollar. That event hasn't happened yet. I don't think so. It might happen this time. Maybe we might still need a little bit more time because we're not ready yet. Because the whole of crypto is very linked to USDT right now. So I don't think we are ready for that move yet. Maybe it might take some more time, but if it could happen. I mean, we're seeing adoption at a very high rate right now, even though that is a lot to do with NFTs, which kind of puts me in a sore note over there. But at the end of the day, adoption is adoption. I mean, we should all be happy when adoption is happening, even if it's through something as NFTs.
It's honestly, it's a complicated topic because you could look at it, in my opinion, you could look at it both ways. You can look
in
at
multiple ways,
Yeah, because inflation, you could say, you know, a lot of traders in Bitcoin, some big names, use the DXY to figure out if they should be going long or short. And when the US index is strong, they feel like Bitcoin is going to go weak. And when the US index is weak, they feel like Bitcoin is going to go strong. But we've seen the correlation sometimes where it acts, like you said, in conjunction, that if that goes down, this goes down. The thing is that it's a bit of a mind game, and it's a chicken and the egg situation, because so if you have inflation, you have a cheaper dollar. If you have a cheaper dollar, it's theoretically cheaper to have stable coin. And if it's cheaper to have stable coin, you have more stable coin, and therefore you can buy more Bitcoin. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. And
Absolutely.
So that's why I said, like, we need an event which basically makes people confused about the dollar, because right now we consider it to be an international market, but I don't think it's an international market as such. We are
Yeah.
very, very like strongly bound to USD.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll be bound for a long time. As much as
that's what even I feel. I don't think we are ready for the change.
You know what? As much as we'd like to get away from it, I don't see it not soon. I mean, think about it. You know, just think about it in terms of we as people in crypto today, non-normies or whatever you want to call it, as many as we are, and we think we have this whole ecosystem, and we do, and it's like crazy amount of people. It's still nothing compared to the population of the world. We're still very early, right? So I think for that to happen, you need a lot more adoption than what we are in today, because you can't have like a separation of kind of like two worlds where, you know, 80% of the world depends on the US dollar, and then there's these 20% that don't care about the US dollar. I just don't see it. I think it's going to take a very long time. I think that CBDCs are going to play a big factor. Central bank digital currencies are going to play a big factor. I don't think it's clear yet how, but I'm sure that they will. And the how maybe comes from changing the way that the economy works and how things are bought and sold. Because right now, we're still very traditional in our approach. And I think COVID, as bad as it was, taught everybody a big lesson and taught the world that, you know, there are major problems with supply chain, a lot of things are changing, and they're changing very rapidly at a pace where...
And I think this Evergrande issue also has brought up a very different picture, which nobody wanted to look at. I mean, debt is sort of like the thing which we know is there, but we don't want to acknowledge it, you know. And this Evergrande situation sort of brought us to like face it face to face in a way.
Yeah. No, definitely. This is a very interesting conversation. We can go on forever, but
that's
it's a tough one. It's a tough one. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That sort of event should not be controlling worldwide global economies, really, should it?
Which event?
The Evergrande situation.
Oh.
I mean, for it to affect markets right the way across the world, and therefore the entire world to some degree, is just crazy.
I mean, they had too much debt. I mean, it's just, I mean, the money has to be balanced somewhere. I mean, at the end of the day, all financial markets is a zero-sum game. Like, you need to gain something to, I mean, somebody has to lose something. Like, if you need to gain something, somebody has to lose something. It's simple as it gets. So there is no way that somebody could gain 1,000 and people are just losing one. You know, that's an impossible math. And that's the main thing. Like, that is the main reason there is Bitcoin today. I mean, the concept is there, but the application is not there yet, is what I would say.
Someone tried to argue this with me one day, that it wasn't a zero-sum game. Interesting.
That's impossible.
I think you should stay away from trading, because I'm not sure you get it.
Another thing, guys, I forgot to mention, if you look at the BTC dominance, it's been dropping since October the 19th, okay?
Yeah.
So now we're seeing a little bit of a spike. This is just a result of Bitcoin recovering a little bit, a little bit of hope. But I think we're going to continue to see this trend down. And this is really for alts. I feel like alt season could be around the corner if Bitcoin just goes into that.
Just sideways is enough. Just sideways is enough.
Yeah, just sideways.
I don't want it to pump to 100K. I just want sideways. That's more than enough.
Yeah. So if that picture that I showed you, which for me, honestly, is one of the most important indicators out there, is Bitcoin exchange reserves. If that stays where it is or continues to go down, and we're gonna definitely see some stability at the very least. At the very least, we'll see stability, and that stability will buy us a nice alt market to come. And prices right now, guys, are, I mean, It's crazy. We should look at the prices, major projects, very good projects with the prices we're at today. There's an expression in trading, don't ever try to catch a falling knife, you'll get hurt. Just means that when something's going down, don't try to catch the bottom. So if you're okay to know and to accept, and it's a mind thing, that even if you buy something today and it's a good price because you know the potential, it drops more, you're okay with this and you'll hold it or you'll buy more. In that situation, in that scenario, if it's not money that you need tomorrow to pay the rent or to buy food, buy, guys, right now. Not financial advice. Buy it now because the prices are unbelievable right now.
That's something which people don't get sometimes. Like you invest money that you cannot lose. That is the whole concept of winning a gamble. Yeah. Like, because stocks are gambling. Like stocks or any other financial asset is a gamble, but it is not a gamble if you know what you're getting into and you're getting into it for long term. And if it has to be long term, it has to be money you can put aside and forget about. Like that is the most important thing for that peaceful trading. I mean, if you want to be stressed all the time, looking at the chart all the time, then definitely put all your money in. And that's your risk,
That's right.
But if you want to do it peacefully and if you want to do it right, the best thing to do is put money which is disposable, like things which you save up, maybe what you spend on alcohol or stuff like that, that whatever, really helps.
Oh yeah, whatever it is. It's the right time to be DCAing, guys. I mean, this is definitely like classic right time to DCA is now. And you know what? It could go down a little bit more, but if you're DCAing and you have the coin to buy, or even if you don't, and you say you did what you did, and you're taking a calculated risk buying at this levels, knowing with reasonable, it's an educated guess that very soon we'll be on our way back up, and it's not money, like I said, that you need to pay the rent or whatever. It's a good time to buy. So we'll leave it at that. We normally, guys, we haven't done it in a while. We look at other coins and what they're doing. Honestly, there's really no point because Bitcoin is what's important right now. It always is, but at times like this, at times of insecurity and non-clarity in the market, it's Bitcoin that really matters. You will see other alts moving sometimes in different directions, but they're not that many. And sometimes they're driven more, and not sometimes, always driven more by FA than TA. So honestly, analyzing charts today of other coins, unless somebody wants me to dive into something, I'll be happy to do it. But I honestly don't see much point. I don't do it for any of the coins I'm holding because there's really no point. It's Bitcoin and how Bitcoin behaves that's going to dictate the rest. And the other coins are going to go up purely based on an FA look, not a TA look.
Have you been looking at the crowd loans, Bilo? Because I believe that Akala have distributed some of the tokens.
Yeah, they've distributed the tokens, but I don't think there's a place to buy and sell them yet. But I'm not sure, at least. What's the other one there? Moonbeam distributed tokens, and now it's selling everywhere. I think it launched today.
Glimmer on KuCoin.
Everywhere. It's on Binance, KuCoin. It's a bit everywhere. Look, I don't know what it is now. I think it's sitting at, let's take a look. It went up, it went down. It's going to take time to stabilize for sure. Let me just see if I can pull it up.
By the way, we were above 43K for a minute not too long ago.
Yeah, it's not. It's not
I'm still watching the chart.
Yeah, it's not on Glimmer is not on TradingView, but
I think you'll have to go to Binance and check.
Yeah, I can't do that right now. But I can look on my phone very quickly and just to tell you what the price is at.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
I think it's about 1350 roughly. Might be a little bit more.
It's 1450 right now.
Oh, nice.
So. Yeah, 1450. It looks like it's stabilized here. All the
ICO was 0.25 if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now there's two things. There's ICOs to take into account. There's the take flight event, which is not unlocked yet, and then there's the crowd loans, which it's a ratio of about 1 for each dot. You got 4 glimmers. So there's all that. 30% of the crowd loan rewards have been distributed to all the wallets. So right now, 30% is unlocked, with the remaining 70% over the next 2 years. So
Nice.
Glimmer, I said it a while ago. Glimmer, Moonbeam is an excellent project. The ecosystem with Moon River, the fact that they bridge, the EVM compatible, all that has a lot of things going for it. But I think people expected to kind of get the same rewards that Kusama, Moon River crowd loaners had, and I don't think that's ever achievable. So
yeah, I mean, I feel the starting of anything usually has more rewards, and it usually is just to attract liquidity. And once more people come, obviously the rewards are going to reduce.
Yeah,
it's just how it is.
Yeah. But I really like their ecosystem. I like what they're doing, and they're smart.
They're smart about it.
Yeah, very smart, and they're investing a lot in development, which is a good thing too. So I think it has a very bright future.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anybody, guys, any questions? I think I see some stuff typed in. Sorry, I'm just gonna check.
Sure.
Nope. Nobody has any questions or comments?
You know what, Bilo? Let's have a quick look at FTM. FTM's doing all right today.
Sure.
Do you mind doing that?
Yeah, no problem. Oops. Okay. FTM. So this is actually very surprising that the stochastic indicator went this low on this low. That's very, very surprising. And
I'm very bullish on FTM.
Yeah.
FTM has so many good projects like Tomb and Tarot, Spirit. Like there's so many, like that ecosystem is really good. Like I think the devs over there are honestly doing a really good job.
Yeah. Look, the chart looks fantastic. There are no bearish divergences at all, even though when you compare this to any other chart, you'll probably see bearish divergences around this region. It's very strong. Stochastic, I can't get over that it went this low. So this is very bullish, guys. It's looking very bullish. Very nice chart. This here is looks to me like also a perfect correction. I seem to have lost the left side of my screen. Why is that?
I think it just...
Oh yeah, so you have. How bizarre. Maybe maybe refresh the page and see if it comes back.
Yeah, give it a refresh.
Refresh. Let's try. Nope. That's weird. Okay, let me go to another page. I have it on another page.
No, there you go. That's back.
Yeah, no, I just went to
another page.
I went to another tab. That's why. That's weird.
Okay.
I don't know why that happened. Baldwin. Okay. Let's see FTM. Okay. So back to FTM. This looks like a very, very decent correction. Let me just see what it is. Oh yeah. See, guys, see, like what I was saying earlier when looking at Bitcoin, and I had already had done this wave count to wave 5. after you have a grand cycle wave 5, this is the perfect spot for a bounce, and that's exactly what happened. So it bounced at 61.8, 65, which I said was the region of importance. It's the golden pocket, and we're going up. It's a really nice chart. For those who got in here, congratulations.
It actually looks a little bit like a giant symmetrical triangle as well. Potentially.
Yeah.
From that lower two across
we
the,
have a massive
bottom section.
What I see is a massive inverse head and shoulders right here. So that would be nice to play out as well. And there's no reason why it wouldn't, because we have here a new cycle going up. Very obviously, it's a new cycle. So this would be wave 1, wave 2, wave 1 of 3, wave 2 of 3, and wave 3 of 3 would be somewhere up here. And if I had to project and just find some confluence, the start would be here. If I had to project and find confluence, I would say that this here, this region would be the target for wave 3.
So that's a good area.
Hopefully. What's that?
Hopefully, that will be a good area for it to go to.
Yeah, so if you want to draw it out, it would look something like this. And then wave 4 would kind of come back down. Wave 5 would probably be somewhere here. And if you wanted to finesse this a little bit more, we'll take out these lines.
There is just too much going on in crypto for us to go into a bear cycle.
That's right.
But then again, there's also FUD going on. Like we have new strains of COVID coming up. Like even Omicron is just the start apparently. Now we have Delta Cron and stuff.
Apparently that was a mistake.
Really?
Yeah, I read somewhere that this was a lab error. There's no such thing. I don't know.
I mean, I'll be glad if it's not there. This Delta Cron sounds deadly.
There's also Flurona, which is a
that I heard about. Yeah,
mutation between the flu and corona, which I'm pretty sure is what corona is anyway. But never mind.
So there was also another study which said that people who get cold usually have a better immunity towards COVID and stuff. Again, this is just a UK-based study that came out. It's not peer-reviewed yet, but yeah, that also is there in the scenes, you can say. This is very weird pandemic situation we have been going on for 3 years.
I had COVID. COVID lost.
Seriously. Nice. Good job.
Yeah. So guys, a lot of confluence for this chart right now. Okay. This is what it would look like. We can screenshot this and come back. Hopefully, that's what we'll see. Hopefully, it's looking really, really nice. Thanks for pointing.
FTM, I'm very bullish on.
Thanks for pointing it out, Pumpeye. What's that, Red?
I said FTM, I'm very bullish on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I held mine too. Although actually, I didn't buy it from that higher price. Thinking about it, so. But I have been doing zero trading. I've literally just been spot holding everything. I don't know about
yeah, me too. Honestly, I did a few leverage trades here and there, but just more for fun.
I've been long since 3 months. I'm still long.
Oh shit!
Oh god!
Are you long?
Like sorry?
Are you long on USDT?
No, not on USDT. So basically, I took my profits as well, but I basically relonged it now when it dumped again.
Yahoo Finance are bullish on USDT. They believe that if you're not, if you're a little bit risk adverse, then you should invest in USDT because it's you're not as much risk of a fall. Which
I mean, this USDT story is a very confusing game. I mean, I know a lot of people who are, I mean, not directly, obviously, But I know a lot of people who have sort of linked to USDT who are extremely confident about its, let's say, validity in a way, you can say.
Yep.
But I don't know how they have that much confidence. And these are like real public figures. I mean, in the programming world, you know, I don't want to say any names out loud, but yeah, but these guys are really confident on this, and it makes me, I don't know, it makes me hopeful in some way that USDT turns out to be something legit. But I don't know. I mean, all the other science proves, you know, the other way around.
Yeah. There's definitely
a lot depends on.
Sorry, Bilo.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's definitely a potential for some downside with USDT, which is quite ironic, really, for what Yahoo Finance are saying. Although obviously they've wires completely crossed, there's definitely more chance of you losing money with USDT than there is of you gaining it, especially considering.
I mean, they need to get transparent for us to be clear. Yeah, I mean, they need to be transparent for us to know what's going on. Like, we literally have no idea what's up with that currency, and that is the most used currency right now.
Yeah, but the point is that Yahoo Finance actually are kind of telling people that they should invest in it because they might gain money from it.
That's a very tricky situation, you know.
Think they've definitely
I don't know what to say.
got their wires crossed there.
So guys, just to go full circle on Phantom. So remember earlier we were talking about bullish divergences. So this is a classic example. We're back at a support at $2, and look at the oscillators, how low they are. So this is bullish divergence, okay? Very clear bullish divergence. And here we made a higher high, but a lower high on the oscillator, on this oscillator, and that's why we went back down. So it's, but right now, honestly, it's looking very good. I would even go in here, even at this price. Me personally, not financial advice. It's looking very, very bullish right now.
Nice. Fancy having a look at Cryo War? As it's a firm channel favorite.
Do I have it here?
If not, it's on my list.
Cryo War, unfortunately, it's one of those coins that got affected by Bitcoin and everything else in the market. And it doesn't represent its true value at all. Where is it? I just added it.
It should be down the bottom.
Yeah, I know. That's where I looked, but I don't see it.
Oh.
Let me try that again. Okay, now it worked. Yeah, not very pretty. And it's too new to analyze. There's not a lot of history. So Cryo War tokens like this, I mean, if you know the game, if you know what it's doing, if you know what it promises to do, if you know the following it has, if you know the hype behind it, that's what you trade, not the chart, because chart just does not look pretty.
Bilo, what was the previous low on the left there?
This here?
Yeah, that one. What was that?
We're exactly at the previous low right now.
I thought so. I think it's about 96, wasn't it?
But yeah, I guess around.
The wicks always fill. How funny.
Let's look at Solana.
Let's look at something that might not be quite so depressing. Let's take a look at the sun. Great to have you on, by the way, Red.
Glad to be here as well.
What time is it where you are?
It's just hitting 2 a.m. right now.
It's just going into AM?
Yeah, 2 a.m.
Oh, 2 a.m.
a.m. Yeah.
You're a bit of a night owl like me, though, aren't you?
Yeah, bro. That's all I do. I mean, I still have to wake up at 9. That's a whole different story. But then, yeah,
I'm the same.
I'm awake in the night.
I actually.
Yeah, so yeah, we're on the same schedule. No way.
I'm usually up at around 7, yet. I don't ever really go to sleep.
You're much more productive person than me.
So, Bilo, what are you saying?
Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
Solana to the moon. No? Oh.
Not yet.
Damn.
Can look like a falling wedge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you stretch it out. I guess.
It's nice that we've had the green dot for the momentum change at the bottom there.
Yeah, but those things don't last very long always.
Ah, don't be so negative.
You know what? Solana, aside from the market, because of the several outages it had another one. What are we today? Wednesday. They had another one last week or on the weekend.
Yeah, even I was stuck in the middle of that. I was trying to mint this thing called, what's it called? Oh God.
NFT?
Monkey, no. Yeah, it's an NFT, but I forgot the name. Monkey something. Monkey ball or something, yeah. MBS. Yeah. I mean, it's basically a game, so.
Whenever you find
monkey
yourself
ball, yeah.
minting something called monkey balls, you know you're a DJ.
Why did I have a really suspicious feeling that you were going to say balls?
No, it's monkey. Is it balls though? One second, let me just confirm, right? I just want to be sure.
So the other day I was minting some monkey balls. Brilliant.
It's just monkey ball. Like no balls.
Oh, okay, just monkey ball.
Yeah.
That's so much better.
And that's when the outage came and they had to stop the mint in the middle of me trying to mint.
Too many balls flying around.
Too many balls. I think you can still pull back the wedge.
You know, like here we had, I mean, we were very good at predicting Solana prices, okay? We had a nice correction here. We were basically an ABC ended here and we were on our way up. And this, look at the date, December 3rd, December 4th. What happened on December 3rd, December 4th? Bitcoin,
yeah.
Bitcoin.
But this was meant to continue up here because the correction was a very clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC. It was done. So now it forces you to relook at it and it's not clear again. It's like, this is my first 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this was supposed to be over and then we're going up.
Or instead you could consider the whole downstretch as a A.
You could look at this as an A, B, C, but then what's this?
No, like from the top to the second bottom, if you consider that as A.
All this is A?
No, not that. The bottom before that, yeah.
Here?
No, the before one. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, if you consider that.
But then the B is not high enough. That's what I. B should go to around 0.6 to 0.8.
Okay.
So like I could say this could be the A and this could be the B. And this kind of screws it up. So it's not like here. And if I was to do the extension, A, B, C, shouldn't have dropped much more than here. But then we try to make it up, came back down. Yeah, it's very, very Bitcoin dependent. This is not following. This is not following its own count right now. I can tell you, it's not following its own count. It's very, very Bitcoin dependent. Unlike Phantom, which Phantom is following its own count. So that's what I mean. You're gonna have the altcoins that will just do their own thing for different reasons, and it's FA. It's FA that's driving it. Solana suffered a little bit, I think, on the FA side because of the outages. Yeah. People are criticizing that, and there's the sentiment that it's not, it's too centralized. And I don't even know what the hell that means. I mean, I know what it means, but it's just silly because just because something's decentralized doesn't make it better. Sometimes you need some centrality to things. I know it's not a very popular opinion in crypto, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, in crypto, it's definitely not a popular opinion. But in a lot of ways, I think even crypto has its own centralization in a way, including BTC.
That's what I mean. But that's what I mean. It's not hypocritical. I think people don't quite understand, because if you understand, if you say Bitcoin is decentralized, I mean, you're only kidding yourself. How could Bitcoin be decentralized if 70% of its mining is controlled by a few people? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, it was decentralized. That is a fact. Back in the day.
Yeah.
I think we just have a lot of bad actors now.
If such a big portion of it is held by a few, percentage-wise, how is it decentralized? How is it that, you know, those people can move the markets? And we know they can, and we've seen it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find the word decentralized is yeah, it's a bit misguided.
Let's check out one.
One, as in W, as in one.
No, O-N-E, harmony.
Oh, yeah, I mean, sorry, yeah.
By the way, Bilo, you covered far too much about the Wyckoff for me to be able to add any real.
No, because you've worked. No, but you've worked longer on the chart. I haven't, so it would be nice if you share it. Here you go, Red.
Let's zoom out a bit.
No signs of weakness here.
Yeah, it still looks like it wants to continue.
Yeah, no signs of weakness, honestly, at all.
What about on an Elliott wave perspective?
We just want to look at the smaller cycle. No, honestly, no signs of weakness. From an Elliott wave perspective, we're in wave 5 right now.
Nice.
This would be the start of, this would be the end of wave 4, and we're going up for wave 5. And this would be the first cycle, and then there would be a correction, and let's just see for confluences. Did I get this right? Yeah. So we didn't quite make it to 1.618. But I would, because we didn't make it to 1.618, I would target wave 5 somewhere here, whereas normally I would have put it here. So wave 5 would be around 49 cents, 50 cents, maybe psychologically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we also do have some recommendations on the chat, by the way. So, okay, get on to it. Consider this.
Yeah. What are the recommendations?
So we have Nia, Alice, and Radix.
Sorry, just looking at this a little bit further.
Sure, no problem.
This, the fact that we stayed below wave 1 for 10 days. Because so an Elliott wave, you can never, wave 4 can drop below wave 1 unless it's in a leveraged market, and in a leveraged market, it can drop for, let's say, a couple of days, or if you're in a diagonal, okay? But we're not in a diagonal. This is not really a diagonal, because if for it to be a diagonal, you would have to see wave 3 being smaller than wave 1, and then wave 5 would be the smallest wave. So it's not a diagonal, and we dropped below and we stayed longer for a while. So it's something totally different. I'm trying to figure out what structure this is. Could be an expanding diagonal. It actually works as an expanding diagonal.
That looks really good, yeah.
It works with an expanding diagonal.
Just slipped out of the channel once, other than that, looks fine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry, you were saying?
So the recommendations which we had were near Radix and Alice.
I've got to say that Monia, or aka Queen Me, is possibly the most bullish person I've ever met.
True that.
Is she on the call?
Yeah, she's in the chat.
Hey.
She said, "Oh my God, guys, Nia is just so bullish. It's just crossed the resistance trend line. There was a bullish flag going to $20 or more." No financial advice.
Right now, as we speak, just want to confirm before I say it. It's looking like there's bearish divergences starting to. Just one sec. I just want to make sure. Yeah, you see it, Pompey?
What's that, bullish divergence?
Bearish.
Oh, bearish divergence. Yes, sorry. I was reading the chat.
So we don't have, look at this candle, and you don't really need to look at the oscillators. Look at the candle, look at the size of this weekly candle, and look at the volume.
Yeah, it definitely shows a little weakness over there.
Yeah. So I'd be cautious, Queen, in leveraging high.
I mean, as long as fundamentally something is coming, then all this weakness is gone.
But if something fundamentally is coming, you'd see more volume.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is maybe a few whales because you don't have the volume. It's a big candle. It's a very big candle. So I'd be cautious. I'd be cautious. What's the next one?
We had Alice and Radix.
Okay. Okay. So it's always a little hard, guys, to TA something that's new, but
Yeah,
a lot of data. And this looks like it's just trending. Well, you could say it's moving in a channel. It looks more like a channel than sideways, that's for sure. So, looking to see if there's any signs that we're going to move up here or if we're going to continue down. This is MFI here. Yeah. So we have a little bit of bullish divergence on MFI, nothing on RSI. We don't look like we're turning. Looking at the volume and this wick.
There's a song about this. Alice, Alice.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't go long here. I would wait and see what happens. I definitely wouldn't go long here.
I think Alice has been a long time coming. I mean, like I bought this coin at $21 based on Binance. It's literally taken me on a ride. But then I've been keeping it on PancakeSwap, so not much of a headache because at least I'm earning something out. But then yeah, it's been a long time coming for it to move up at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I would wait
Yeah, definitely.
See what happens. I wouldn't buy here. That's.
I mean, on the higher time frame, we actually have a bullish direction.
On which time frame?
On this time frame, which you're seeing right now.
Bullish or bearish?
Bullish.
Where's that?
So if you take in the third point.
Which, on MFI or RSI?
On MFI.
This is MFI. Okay.
Yeah. The third one.
Do you mean
the third dip, right?
The third main peak.
Yeah. The next one. Left. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
If you trace it all the way to the last dip.
But okay. But you would need to go to a higher time frame to go to the last dip because this happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so let's just see if we go, let's say on the weekly, because you want a high low, right? And you can't have intermediate high lows in between because it erases the divergences. And on the weekly, it's hard to see because there's not much data. It's new. So if we go to the daily, this is what I was saying earlier. There are no real bullish divergences on RSI because we dropped lower, but we may have some bullish divergence on MFI if we compare this low to this one. That's why I said that maybe we can wait a little bit here and see if we bounce up. But there's also so much resistance above here. Look, most of the price action happens here that I would wait till these regions. I wouldn't, personally.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, what was the next one? My battery is about to die, guys, and we're going to have to wrap it up. So what's the next one?
Sure. So the next one is Radix, which is there.
Radix, loving Radix.
Ports, we mentioned some FTM projects earlier, and I think Red Reed.
Yeah, I just posted it in the chat, yeah.
He'd probably be the best person to name some.
Yeah, just names it.
Okay, so, I mean, Radix had a very decent correction, more than decent. I mean, had a big correction. So we said earlier that 618 is ideal, but as we can see here, we can go below it. And guys, you know, most of the time, okay, if you take anything, okay, just Bitcoin, crypto, whatever it is, if you look at a high time frame and you draw your Fibonacci retracement, if you're above 618, there's a higher chance that you'll bounce. And if you're below 618, there's a higher chance that you'll get rejected. So here, we made it below 618. And look, we've tried once, twice to make it above, and we couldn't. So we got rejected 2 times so far, and this is what led to a further decline. So, you know, right now, we have nothing to talk about on MFI, but we do see some bullish divergence on RSI, and we see a change in momentum on the market cipher B.
So yeah, it looks like a good green spot.
Could be a good spot here. But there's not much support though. That's the thing. I mean, real support happens here, lower.
Yeah.
Like what's the real support here? There really isn't much. So yeah, you know, Radix, again, one of those projects, you have to understand what it does. And if you like the concept and if you think it has a future, buy based on FA. TA wise, right now, again, it's one of those things that I don't see much support. It's until maybe these levels here, about 16, 17 cents, hoping it doesn't go there, but you never know. So if you believe in Radix, if you like the concept, Radix is essentially Lego blocks of blockchain coding, where each dev invents a code that does something, and they get paid for it. And you can go in and you can take several blocks of code, put them together, and you have a new code that does something else. That's the concept behind Radix. It's a very good concept, and it's going to do very well. It's a long-term, very solid project, and I invest in it. And you know what? I wouldn't mind buying at these ranges, even though I think it might go lower. It might not. If Bitcoin recovers, everything's going to go up with it. So from a TA perspective, not the best place to buy. From an FA perspective, get it while you can and buy some more if it dips more, I guess is what I would say. Okay, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure.
Guys, trade safely. Be
Very.
aware of what's been said earlier on in this meeting. Make sure that you pay attention to the guidelines of support that Bilo has spoken about. From my own perspective, a lot of altcoins at the moment do actually look like they're entering into a bear market or have already started entering into a bear market. So it's definitely worth keeping your wits about you. Have stop loss set in place and watch those Bitcoin movements carefully, because it's not all about your altcoin charts. It's actually more so, for the most part, apart from the odd exception, about the Bitcoin chart and what Bitcoin's doing. And we're in a bit of a precarious position at the moment, so it's really worth looking closely at things. We shall hopefully see you again next week. We'll keep you updated on the TA announcement channel. Thank you very much, Bilo. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Red Reed.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you to everybody else that's joined in. Amazing.
Thank you.
As always, thanks so much.
Take care. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Good night, guys.